Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Polished Beauty segment, where we're diving into a topic that affects millions: IVF, egg donation, and fertility preservation. With us is actress Camille Guaty, who has openly shared her emotional journey with infertility, ultimately welcoming her son through donor conception. You may recognize her from her incredible performance on screen, including HBO's Duster, where she portrays a fierce truck driver navigating single motherhood in the 1970s. And joining us, of course, is our expert co-contributor, the amazing Dr. Daisy Ayim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN and founder of the Polished Beauty podcast. She deeply understands the complexities of fertility and infertility. This week, as we recognize National Infertility Awareness Week, we're going to break down the stigmas, discuss the science, and shed light on the hope that medical advancements are bringing. We're going to get into it right now, chatting donor eggs and the emotional truth behind fertility struggles. Welcoming now to the show is the incredible Camille Guaty and Dr. Daisy Ayim. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is a very special week. It's very important to me and a lot of people. So I really appreciate being here this week.
You are a trailblazer, and your last interview with us touched so many people. Infertility affects 1 in 8 couples in the US, if not more. Yet, despite how common it is, many women still feel a very deep sense of isolation and shame. Studies are showing that nearly 61% of women going through infertility do not openly discuss their journey, often out of fear or societal pressure. Now, you've been refreshingly open about your experience. 5 rounds of IVF, IUI, and ultimately donor conception. What made you decide to share your story so publicly? And how has that vulnerability impacted you and many others?
I remember going through so much emotional struggle, physical struggle, financial struggle. And our, ultimately, we ended up choosing donor conception to have our child. And at the end of it all, I remember I was pregnant and my publicist said, "Hey, People Magazine want to do an announcement with you and your pregnancy." And I was like, "Oh," and I just had this like moral kind of moment with myself. Two things. I didn't want to be that woman that was celebrating my pregnancy and having other women look at it and say, "Oh, well, she did it at 40, then I can do it too." I felt like it was a giant lie, one. But two, I also wanted to celebrate it. I didn't want to feel, I felt so much shame in this process. I still felt shame when I was pregnant. And I wanted to overcome that. And I felt like if I stepped into the truth of my story, of my husband's story, of our family building story, why can't we just celebrate that? And I tell people that. And then hopefully this will help heal me and it will help heal others that were listening. And I had to have a chat with my husband because he was not on board. He wanted to keep this secret at first. And I said, "I think being secret about it makes me feel like there was a problem." And I think without that, you take that secret away and you talk about the truth, then it's not a problem, right? Then it becomes just another way that we decided to have a baby. And he understood. And so we made the announcement on People Magazine. And I remember the reporter said to me, "Oh, I feel like this is going to be the moment. Like everyone is going to come out because we know that there's more people that have done donor conception and more actors or more public figures." And they were wrong. Everybody was silent. Nobody came out. And that's fine, because I also have this saying, there's a difference between secrecy and privacy, right? Secrecy is what my husband wanted to do. He wanted to not even tell our child. Um, and privacy is, maybe something that I do now, not when I'm speaking publicly, but maybe in school, or I don't choose to be the mic piece every time for donor conception. I'm aware of who I'm speaking to and if it's something that I want to share with them,
Yeah.
you know? And they don't have to.
Although the celebrities and people didn't come out, I assure you that they were sitting at home in their corners relating to your story,
Hmm.
seeing comfort in your story. And
Hmm.
everyone react to that process differently, you know? As a OBGYN that I have heavy fertility patients in my practice, I get the emotional roller coaster havoc that comes with that process. It can be endless financial circles, emotional, you name it. And the idea of having donor egg for a woman that has always felt that she would have her own child, it's huge for her to reconcile that, be okay with it, and move forward. So I applaud you for bringing your story out loud. What I wanted to kind of, if you can allow me to ask you, go deeper on how did you work that process,
Hmm.
aligning yourself with the ideology of, you're not genetically bound to your child, but it is your child.
Oh, it was a long, long road. Because as you know, and as other people who are listening know, when you're struggling with infertility or when you're going through IVF, they tell you you just need one. You just need one egg. So that the giving up is hard because, gosh, well, what if my next cycle is the one? What if the next one is the one? And so getting yourself to say, that's it, I can't do this anymore, um, is really hard. And I remember saying, oh, I am not going to stop until I am financially tapped out. Cause then now my insurance covers IVF, but then it was completely out of pocket. I was doing crazy things to get drugs. I'm sure you don't want to know this, but I was, because it was the only way that I could afford a cycle. Like, I just didn't see it any other way at the time. I was like, this is the only way, and it's going to happen. And right before we were starting our fifth or sixth cycle, we did the baseline and they checked, and I had like no follicles, maybe one. Um, and they were, the nurse was like, you're doing this when? I said, well, tonight I'm starting the medication. She's like, don't waste your money. Cancel the cycle. And I was like, oh, if you think about it, all those times that I tried to get pregnant, I envisioned what that child was going to look like. I did these manifestations of, all the times that they were putting all these, acupuncture needles in my belly. And I just sat there every time. And I was really focusing on this baby and what that would feel like. And every time it didn't happen. So my heart was beyond broken. I was mad at the world. I was mad at God. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my husband. I was mad at every woman who was pregnant. The whole world was a giant trigger to me, and I hated it. And I couldn't go to baby showers. I had to stop following people on Instagram. And then my husband said, donor conception was always on the table. And because it was, we had a great doctor who was always like, and over here, there's donor egg. I was always so mad. I'm like, stop it. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm
Yeah.
fine. This is going to happen. And whenever donor conception was brought up, to me, I felt like a failure. I felt like I was old. I felt like my husband was going to be less attracted to me. I felt like he would be more connected to the child than me. I mean, the list goes on. And I finally got to this place where at first the egg donor, whoever she was at the time, she wasn't anybody, but she used to make me feel jealous and all of the things that I told you. And somewhere along the line, I just had this aha moment and I shifted my lens and I saw this woman as just an angel. I mean, here was this woman who was, oh, it's gonna make me cry. Here was this woman who was giving me like the ability to carry my child, the ability to be a mom in a different way that adoption couldn't, I wouldn't be able to experience. Um, and and also not being able to have my own genetics, I obviously couldn't do that, but I was able to carry. So I decided, I said, well, if I'm able to carry, why don't I allow myself to experience motherhood this way?
So I'm going to fast forward to 2019. After years of struggle, you finally welcomed your beautiful son, Morrison Raphael. Okay, I want to give him the grand entrance that he deserves because we've been talking about this, and now here we go. And when you look at parents who go through IVF experience, they do experience intense joy, and many also report, a lingering anxiety, perhaps as a result of years of emotional and physical toll.
Mm.
So when you held him for the first time, what emotions flooded over you? And how has your specific experience shaped your perspective on motherhood?
I mean, I think I was in shock when I first held him. I also did something really cool, but I told my doctor that I know this is going to sound really weird, but you're an OBG. Like this is a woman's well, it's not really women's issue, it's a women and men's issue. But I wanted to grab him out of me and like take him out, and the doctor allowed me to do that. And I just remember like that feeling of just having this baby that was in my belly, and here he is, and he's on top of me right now, and his heartbeat and his cry and his everything was so a part of me that I like, you don't see any of the other things that existed. Now the fears, I have to say, and I'm honest with this, fears don't just go away, right? They don't just go away lickety split. I still, I knew what my triggers were going to be then. They change, right? Now
Mhm.
I had different triggers. Like, oh, what does everybody love to say about a baby? Oh my gosh, he looks so much like you. Oh, he looks so much like, oh, here's your daddy's nose. Oh, da, 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 da. And that was going to be my biggest trigger. Like, I'm not going to look like my baby. And that's okay. But this is an opportunity to like
Yeah.
tell people the story.
So, Camille, knowing what you know now, I mean, your story is just powerful and beautiful. I get that conversation here in the office, and I've seen those tears. I've been the shoulder for those patients to cry on,
Mm,
and it gets me emotional because of that. I decided at 37 to go and freeze my eggs, although I was already a mother, because I had the privilege to encounter women that have been through this path, and it was almost like a light bulb in my head that went up, and I thought, let me do this for me, right?
mm.
But knowing what you know now, if you had to look back, would you have done egg freezing at a younger age? And what would you say to listeners out there when it comes to that?
Freeze your eggs. I say it to everybody. I hate it that I'm like the little detective, but I'm talking to women and they're going off, and I'm like, it happened the other day actually. I said, so how old are you?
Right.
Like, have you ever considered freezing your eggs? Oh, y'all, it's expensive. I was like, well, look into it. Get a credit card, do it. um, it's a tricky question for me because if I didn't go through the journey that I went through, I wouldn't have my son. But if we take Morrison out of the equation, would I have frozen my eggs? Yes. I would have said absolutely. Why? Because it's power. Women, this is freezing your eggs is giving yourself power. It's giving yourself an assurance for it's or insurance for the future, for your future. You can get rid of this idea of this, that we live with this ticking clock, and it's not fair that we have to live with that and the men don't.
I back that 1,000%. Every woman that comes to my office, just off note, that is over 30 for annual exam or any issue, childless, married or unmarried, I always bring up egg freezing that you should do it. When they're younger than 30, I bring it up, but probably not to the same intensity, because I know that's the time they're still trying to put themselves together. But
Right.
definitely 30 and above, it should be in your number one priority if you do not have family immediately in mind and you remotely think you're going to be a mother someday. And I say remote because your opinion changes and your feeling changes depending on how life, gives you whatever it gives you.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
I wanted to just ask, infertility is such an isolating event. It can be very shameful, just like you mentioned. Women sort of punish themselves for not seeing that and live in a society where being a mother in some ways is held as the beacon of feminism or being a woman. If you don't have that ability, it becomes really hard. So I want to know, is there any words of hope and encouragement that you can give to that woman listening to this that's going through this journey currently?
Yes. Number one is you are not alone. Um, and it's kind of a slogan that I've taken on. But it's the truth. I feel now more than ever there is such a community out there. And if you need to be private about the issues that you're going through, that's okay, because this is the one area where I think social media is amazing. That we have direct messaging. You do the hashtags infertility, hashtag IVF, and you will find a community of women out there that are willing to speak, willing to help. There's chat groups, talk groups, there's even courses that you can take, and I speak on the panel sometimes, and there are women and men that are going through the same thing as you are. Trust me, your story is not
Let
the only one.
let's talk on that, the men. So let's talk about the role of partners in this
Mm.
journey, because studies show that infertility can place immense strain on relationships. In fact, like 48% of couples report feeling a heightened emotional toll. Now, your husband, Sai, was by your side through it all.
Yes.
How did you both navigate the ups and downs together, and what advice do you have for couples facing similar challenges?
I mean, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but uh, I feel like therapy saved us. I think communication, number one. Try to support each other as best as you can, um, and don't isolate. Don't isolate, because the one thing that my husband said to me um, when we were going through this is I was so angry, and I was just so mad. I was mad at him, mad at me, mad, for starting late. And he said, this isn't just happening to you. This is happening to us. And that was so important for me to hear, because I did feel like I was doing this on my own, not because of anything he was doing, but I felt like he just couldn't understand. Well, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what this
Yeah.
feels like. But yes, he does. Not the physical part of it, but emotionally, it's as devastating for the man if it's not the man that has the issue. It's as devastating for them as it is for us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's such a beautiful t- testament, right, to partnership, because
mhm.
true love through all the highs and lows always wins. So I think it's all about the right partners as well.
Yeah, you just have to lean into each other in this and don't separate. I know if the men are going through infertility, it's harder for them in the sense that there is a community, but the community is not as big. Men also don't talk about it as much as the women. There's more women out there talking about infertility than there are men. So it's I feel like the men are coming out a little bit more, but the shame exists a little bit stronger at the moment for men. So I implore the men to start coming out and talking.
I think the most powerful thing you've said of all things that I want women and I tell my patients to do is protect your peace. You are intuitive enough to know to remove yourself from seeing posts, about babies, all those things. It's not mean spirited. It's definitely very self-care and very important to understand that those visuals can do something to your spirit and your soul. So I commend you for doing that step for yourself.
Thank you.
And in light of National Infertility Awareness Week, it's definitely about shedding light on these conversations and breaking the stigma. So, for those of you listening who are in the midst of their own fertility struggles, I hope this segment truly, truly helps you feel encouraged and find your own community. But I know that Camille, you are extremely transparent and open. Definitely head to her page because I know she's gonna reciprocate right back at Camille Guaty, right?
Thank you. Yes, of course. Anybody who has any questions, I always say I'll give you my opinion, my advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. So do, take my information as you will. But yes, I'm here.
Well, between you and Dr. Daisy, I mean, Camille, choosing to start a family through IVF, donor eggs, or even egg freezing, right? That's an emotional, financial, and deeply personal journey. So you've done a great job at really articulating the ups and downs of this. But ultimately, you have the most incredible
Little boy.
son. Exactly. The most incredible son that is now gracing your life. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was the Polished Beauty segment. Make sure to definitely follow Dr. Daisy Ayim at the Polished Beauty Podcast and head to Camille's social media where you could find her and where she shares her incredible story. She's extremely transparent. And remember, infertility is a challenge, not an identity. You are not alone. Until next time, you're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. Do check out Camille at Camille Guaty, CamilleGuaty. We'll be right back after this. A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Ayim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Ayim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life. The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com.